Well, thank you very much, everybody. Welcome to Turndog Talks 2. I'm delighted to be joined today by Dave Kerpen of Likeable Media. Dave, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. For those who don't know, Dave is the man behind Likeable Media and has also got a book, Likeable Business. So, Dave, let's start this off and just give us a bit of an idea of who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure. So we have a company called Likeable. It's a social media and word of mouth marketing firm. We started 5 years ago when I got married to my wife at a baseball stadium in New York, and we raised $100,000 US for an awesome wedding, $20,000 for charity, and our sponsors, 1-800-Flowers.com sponsored our flowers, and Smirnoff sponsored our alcohol, and David's Bridal sponsored our bridesmaids gowns, and so on and so forth. It was a great event for our sponsors because we were featured in ABC World News Tonight, CBS Early Show, CNBC, New York Times, and thousands of blogs. And it was great for us because we got married. But after the event, our sponsors said, "This was great. What are you guys doing next?" We couldn't get married again, so we started a company instead. The focus of our company early on was word of mouth marketing, but as social media exploded, we realized that digital word of mouth was much better than baseball stadium events and mall events and the guerrilla marketing we've been doing. So we work now with mostly large companies, companies like GE, Logitech, Verizon, Neutrogena, etc. We also just launched a software product called Likeable Local, which is for small businesses leveraging social media as well. And I've authored a couple of books. Likeable Social Media is a New York Times bestseller. And my most recent book, just out last month, is called Likeable Business.
Yeah, that's the one I was referring to. That was just a few weeks ago, right?
Yes, it just launched. So the first book is a discussion of how companies can leverage social media to grow their business. And this book takes things a step further and talks not only about social media, but about the core values of being likable and treating customers and staff right, and really building your business by doing right.
Very, very cool. And what an amazing way to get married as well. So basketball is, because of maybe in English, like,
Yeah, baseball.
is that
It's our version of cricket.
Okay, so I thought you were saying basketball because I remember seeing the film Basketball, and I was like, I didn't know that was a real sport. So
It is not a real sport, but
thank God.
but
I was like, what?
yeah.
America,
No,
you've taken
we
it
play
too
baseball
far.
over here. I don't know if you Brits play the baseball over there.
We don't. But I have been lucky enough to go to quite a few baseball games. My second home is like over in Cincinnati, so I'm a designated Reds fan, I guess.
Go Reds!
Yeah, we had a good year. So
It's not every day I meet a Brit that's a Cincinnati Reds fan. I'm very impressed.
I don't think there's many of us. There's a few, but yeah, I probably know them all because they all went to the same camp as me. So yeah, there's not many of us. We occasionally get together, go Reds.
Nice.
Right, well, putting baseball, not basketball, to one side, this whole video, this little interview is all about my book, The Successful Mistake. So I'm going to ask Dave to tell us a tale about his biggest business mistake and how he turned it around and what he learned from it. So Dave, please take us into your world of mistakes and
Yeah.
how
So
you
I
did it.
make a lot of mistakes. I love making mistakes. Make mistakes every day, and mistakes help us learn, which is why I love mistakes. That's why I was excited about your book there. One mistake that I wrote about in this book is in my team playing chapter, and the mistake is the segment, the subhead of the chapter rather is understanding other teams' rules and playing by other teams' rules. And the mistake that I made was I had a client, and I'm not going to mention who actually, but it's a very large company, and I wanted to chat with a high-ranking vice president at that company, and I didn't think it'd be a big deal to reach out and offer to give him some updates on social media trends. And so I reached out via email to schedule a quick meeting with this guy. Well, my client was 2 levels beneath this guy. My client got really, really upset. I got a text message freaking out from her, and she said, you can't do that. You need to get sponsorship from your client. You can't just go above me like that. She was really angry. She was actually screaming at me over the
Oh
phone.
my God.
And I sent her a bouquet of flowers the next day, and I apologized, and I was really sorry. But several weeks later, we lost the account, and in my humble opinion, I thought we were doing very good work. So to this day, I really believe that the reason I lost the account was the fact that I didn't follow their rules, and I sort of went above our contact at the company to try to meet with somebody higher up. And so, to me, it was a pretty big mistake. It was about a $500,000 client. So, it's a pretty expensive mistake.
Wow.
But, the important thing is learning something. And again, I feel like I learned that, when dealing with other organizations, you have to really understand their organizations and how they operate, and understand that you have to play by their rules as well.
Excellent. So was the issue more bruising her ego, or was it that you went to the person above and he was just like, who is this guy? Why is he calling her?
I don't know. I suspect it was an ego issue. Honestly, I do. But I guess I'll never know.
Because it is such a petty thing, and I guess you look at it and think there's no way that happens. But I guess this kind of thing happens in the corporate world time and time again. It's just.
I think they do, and I'm trying to build a likable organization here. I'm very proud of the fact that we just won 28th best place to work in New York by Crane's Business here in New York, and I'm trying really hard to build a very likable culture, a culture where people really love what they do, a culture that doesn't have that sort of politics and BS that obviously does go on in a lot of large organizations. But that said, no matter what the culture is of our organization, the lesson learned, again, is to understand other organizations' rules, and you got to play by them. You can't just go in and do your own thing. You have to have respect for other organizations' rules, even if they might seem petty.
Very true. And I guess a lot of people watching this, young, new entrepreneurs, they might want to create some kind of social enterprise. They might want to do everything young and savvy and be in the modern world. But you will have clients and you will work with people who are the stuck in the mud client, the people who have been around for 150 years and they've got their bureaucracy, they've got their red tape, they have their culture. And it is a case that you need to live to their rules, because it can be a disastrous sort of financial loss otherwise. You
really do. And look, I'm an idealist. I want really very much to leave the world a better place, to build things, to build our company, and to help bring about the world that I want. But that world does not yet exist.
Yeah.
And I have to be respectful of that. I have to be understanding of that. I have to know that just because I want something to be doesn't mean it's going to be yet.
When you do create that world, if you can give me a call, that'd be good.
You got it.
I want to be the first on that. So what do you do now because obviously it was a big financial thing. I can imagine you went home that night and you were just like, oh man, what did I do? Like, it was something like you obviously weren't doing it on purpose. It was just one of these silly little mistakes. But what do you do now, and what do you tell your team now to try and learn from that? Do you try and find out a bit more about new clients and about their culture? Are there certain questions that you ask? Is there a process?
Yeah, I mean, we begin asking questions from the moment we start talking to a new prospect, and as we win that business, we consider our clients partners, and we aim, again, no matter what the culture is in their organization, to help them become as likable as possible, but never to overstep our bounds. And that it was a very important lesson to learn, and hopefully we won't make the same mistake again. But I do instruct our team to really be very respectful of that, and learn to play by everyone's rules.
Do you also do a bit of research? Do you go on Google and check out their website and just devour their vision statement and their mission statement and think,
yeah, of
get
course.
a feel?
Of course, we do a lot of. I mean, we did that before, So we do a lot of research, but truthfully, we've always done that. It's really just a matter of understanding what's appropriate and what's not in certain cases. And again, a lot of organizations, for me, for instance, I don't need to be emailed on anything. I don't care. I trust my team. But there are a lot of organizations where you have to BCC or CC all these people. You have to really keep the whole chain of command and all that. And again, you just have to know what the rules are. Once you know what the rules are, then you can play by them.
Fantastic. But I can imagine at the same time you're very careful to make sure that it doesn't change you and it doesn't change Likeable, because one bad experience doesn't mean that you need to change the complete culture that you've built.
Oh, of course, and I'm steadfast in the importance of our own culture here at Likeable. You know, that's not necessarily what the purpose of this interview is, but we have 5 core values: drive, passion, thought leadership, transparency, and adaptability. And we live by those core values, and we hire and fire by those core values, and we believe very strongly in that.
Yeah, and I suppose you can always look at it on the different side, that sometimes if two companies are working together and there's not that alignment, that eventually it would become strained. So maybe it was better that it happened then rather than later down the line. But it could have been a $1 million contract.
Maybe. I mean, look, $500,000 is a lot of money, but you know, you learn your lesson and you move on.
Definitely.
Totally cool.
Definitely. Yeah, easier said than done when you got the 500,000 in the banker.
Right.
So before we finish up with this interview and we finish up on the mistake side of things, if you could offer one piece of advice to a young/new entrepreneur, someone just trying to get started out, what would it be?
Well, I'm not in the business of giving out advice, but I'd like to share some of the things that have been helpful for me as an entrepreneur that's been fortunate enough to enjoy some success. And one thing that's been very important for me is to seek out mentors and to find people that I can learn from, and to not be afraid of asking people for help and asking people for advice myself. And from the start, I've had I've been very, very blessed. I've had a wonderful group of mentors that have helped me along the way. And now I have an advisory board of a formal group of 11 mentors who are just terrific in helping lead me. And it's something I do strongly encourage. And of course, I'm happy now in certain opportunities to give back and mentor others as well.
That's so good to hear as well, because I'm a big fan of mentorship, and I think it's fantastic both to be a mentor and a mentee. But it's good to hear that you still have those mentors around you, because some people, they have them in the beginning and then they grow a little and they just think, well, I don't need it anymore.
Listen, the more I know, the more I know how little I know, and I truly have a ton to learn. And the day I think that I would want to stop learning is the day I hope I die, because really there's nothing fun about life and business unless you're learning every day.
I have the same mantra. I've always said I hopefully figure it all out in my final breath, and it just sparks, and I go, there we go, you can go now.
Yeah.
If you figure it out before then, I guess life would be boring.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. It's been an absolute pleasure. What a fascinating story, and it's so great to see Likeable doing so well over in New York. I think we'll see plenty more in the coming years.
Well, thank you so much, and it's been great joining you, and you have a super Likeable rest of your day.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Viewer, for watching.